Yeah, we are recording. We are live.
Yay!
The So I'm just I was telling you before, like I was doing my homework, basically checking your LinkedIn and trying to find the projects that you worked before, and you have a long career already. I mean, you started in '96. That's
Yeah,
I mean, you look younger than me, and I started in around '98. So it's how you did.
I
I mean,
took a
you
I took a shortcut. Yeah, definitely.
what what
It's
what shortcut? What you did?
well, when I was uh when I was in high school, I started doing computer animation a lot.
Hmm.
Uh, my brother had introduced me to it when I was like 14 or so. So that was a
Hmm.
like such a long time ago, like in early 90s, 93 or something
Hmm.
like that. I was already
Yeah.
doing a lot of computer animation at home. And I I was so into it that I stopped doing my high school work. And at that time, there was nobody at home. I used to skip high school and go home and do computer animation until eventually I dropped out of high school. I never actually finished. And
I see.
so my dad was like, all right, if that's what you're going to do, then you've got to go to an animation school, which was like the best news ever. So I took like a little 8-month course and I started working the night shift at a computer animation company in Toronto when I was 18.
Wow, that was
Yeah.
a toy box.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
It was before Toy Box, it was called Command, Post, and Transfer back in the days of like film transfers and commercial
Oh,
agencies and stuff.
wow.
And they
Yeah.
had,
I
the old SGI machines and all that stuff.
I have a friend that I know from like many years ago. He
Hmm.
was working on. He was specialized in cutting film, manually cutting film in London for advertisement. I
Right.
was like
Yeah.
crazy. It was many
It,
years in London, but eventually he had to. I mean, he ran out of work because nobody was doing advertisement in film, and that was sad. But
yeah, it really was an interesting time to work at those places. It was crazy in the way, just the old technology where all the suites that did the compositing were hooked in by voice recorders to like a tape room where
mhm.
people put in and out DAT tapes to hold all the
Yeah,
data and
very
stuff. And
analogic,
there's like
very like
patching
craftsman
cords and like,
kind of.
yeah, it's just hilarious. Yeah, what a weird time. My computer, when I worked the night shift, was in a corner of the tape room at this place. That's where I did most of my work. It was so loud in there, but
Which software did you use back
awesome.
in the day?
That was pre-Maya, so it was
Uh,
Alias Power
Alias,
Animator.
the Power
Yeah,
Animator. Yeah, I
yeah.
remember that demo reels. There were the Digi. How there was the Power Animator, the Digimagion, the Kinemagion, or something like that. I
Yeah, I never
started.
used any of those other ones, just
Yeah,
just Power Animator.
yeah. I started. Well, started with 3DS 3, I think, not Max.
2.0 for me. Yeah, that
Wow.
was like the thing at home.
And
So
I got
fun.
a book in Spanish. It was the only book. And I was basically going and doing renders and trying to. You did in that book. The whole book was a tutorial to make a chest table, like with the pieces, like to do like extrusions and like with the what was 2D shaper, 3D loft, no 3D,
Oh
2D.
yeah,
How
all
I
the
remember
different like
the
bits of the
different.
application. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I did like I convinced my parents to pay also for a course in Madrid, in Spain, a summer course for soft image 3D. Uh,
Cool. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and yeah, I was holding soft image until 2000, I think 11 or something. I
And we
was
slowly watched all the software just disappear, and now you can
yeah,
use Maya. That's what you can use.
yeah. I'm pretty comfortable with Maya right now. Um,
Hmm.
But yeah, I indeed I still have my soft image license. I have a permanent license, and I kept it, and I fight it to get my activation. So I still, in this computer, I still have it. But man, I forgot so much. It's hard to go back with this, even if you use it for
I don't think
years.
I could. I'd love to use the old 3 Studio again. I wouldn't know what I was doing. What a crazy time trying to like wrap your head around
Yeah,
texture mapping and all the things that we take for granted now. But in the
yeah,
beginning, there was nowhere really there was no internet to go and read up on
yeah.
it. You just had to figure it out. And yeah,
Yes,
that was like such a strange, weird
yeah.
time. It's totally bizarre.
I remember uh, I was working in a studio in Spain, and my boss bought the VHS from David Gallagher. The
Yeah, yeah.
oh man, that was gold. And it cost autonomy from Spain. It was like wow. I couldn't afford that. It was my boss who bought the tapes, and I watch it and rewatch it like I don't know how many times. And
Yeah, that was so weird. Everything's different now.
yeah,
It's so crazy to fast forward to today and the amount of like I think it's also reflected in the quality of
oh yeah,
students that it's just like the bar for what it takes to get in the industry is so high right now, and the
hmm
work from students is so good. It's a very interesting time for computer animation. Yeah, it's pretty
yeah.
cool.
And then just following your path, so you start. You were one of the founding members of Mr. X.
Yeah,
How
the
how was that? I mean, sorry, I don't know. Mr. X, it's in Australia or no?
they started in Toronto. It's
They
a
started in
Toronto
Toronto.
company, and then it expanded out,
Mm,
and they have a few branches. And then I believe a while ago they got bought by Technicolor again, and so they're part of the like MPC
I
Mill
see.
family or something. I'm not sure
Wow.
what exactly is going on with it now, but back in those days, back at Command Post, which
Mm-hmm.
became Toy Box, my manager was the guy who founded Mr. X. And so
Wow.
when he was starting the company, he said, "Hey, do you want to come and do this thing with me?" And there was like 2 other people, like a compositor and like a programmer. And I was excited. And, yeah, so we started it up, and I talked to the rest of my friends from Toy Box Command Post, and I made a deal with the Dennis, my boss, who started the company, to hire us all in one go. And the 5 of us went and started Mr. X as the 3D artists. Yeah, it
Wow.
was like it
Well,
was awesome.
yeah,
Yeah,
in
it was really cool.
2001. Yeah. Wow. Because yeah, I guess the panorama in 2001 was not that big in terms of like the amount of studios that we have nowadays.
Yeah, it
Uh,
was definitely a smaller landscape with a few big old players like in Toronto Core. Remember that company,
y-
Core Digital Pictures?
yeah, the
They
one
did a
that
lot of stuff.
they did the feature film with Houdini. That is that the
I
one?
think so. Yes. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that's the one. There,
over the one with animals. I can't remember the name. Was Over the Edge? No, it's not that one.
I think that was Sony, but I can't remember.
Oh, sorry, I don't want to like put
Yeah, I
any
know.
attributions in it. Oh yeah, so you work in Spain, made Silent Hill. Wow, I really
It
like
was
that
like
movie. Yeah,
I don't know. A lot of those weren't great, but
was it
starting like when you start in the
Cube
studio,
2?
you don't
Yeah.
really get to pick your projects. You do whatever comes in the door. And the niche
Mm.
for us ended up to be these like horror
Yeah.
movies. And that
Yeah,
was
Cube
so
2.
fun.
I didn't watch Cube 2. I really like it. The Cube, the original one from Vincenzo Natali. Cube 2 was also Vincenzo Natali who directed.
I can't remember anymore, honestly. Yeah,
Sorry.
I don't know.
But the first one was super great. That movie,
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
and I guess the second must be also great.
It was okay.
The and then so after just a short time on Image Engine, and you were their animator. So that's one thing you've been juggling between animation and character did you know that?
I think when I started, all I ever wanted to do was animation,
Mhm.
and it's one of those things where you start at a company and there's no one else that does computer animation there. And so you just start doing
Mhm.
everything. You become a generalist kind of. And then, some of my friends were good at the other things like rendering and lighting and some
Mhm.
some of that other stuff or compositing. So I didn't have to do those things anymore. But when it came to animation, you needed a rig and no one knew how to rig anything. So I did all the rigging and just for myself to animate those
Mhm.
characters for those films and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of where it started. Actually, when I applied to Blue Sky, I applied also as an animator, and they
Oh,
looked at my
cool.
reel, which was mostly personal work. I took like 6 months or a year off and did some personal projects, and I applied with my reel with those. And they said, okay, well, why don't you come and try out for the rigging department? And that was the start of the sort of the rest of my whole career. The last half of my career has all been
Yeah,
as a character artist doing rigging, and I had never really intended to go down that road at all.
that's interesting. So yeah, you've been there like 12 years on Blue
Yeah,
Sky from 2009. I guess it was Rio, the first one.
they were finishing off the end of an Ice Age movie, but yeah, I think
Oh,
that was probably one of the first ones that I did there. I
and until the
remember,
end, I guess.
yeah, right up until the end. Yeah,
That was sad. I mean, it was really a boomer. Like when they announced it that it was uh, everything was going down, and yeah. But I
what a shame. Yeah,
yeah,
it was a
it's yeah, it's always tough, and especially with studio. That I mean, nowadays to have a team of people that work together and deliver such a high quality movies, it's not an easy feat to accomplish. Like even if you have
no,
the budget, the money, and
yeah.
the team, it's super hard to assemble and
That is
let it go like
100%
that.
right. I think you hit the nail on the head. That's like that was the biggest shame with the whole thing was that you actually had a group of people that could create amazing movies and had a pipeline that worked. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty cool. There was a lot of great stuff there, a lot of crazy talented people too. It was a lot of fun. That was the most fun I think I had, except for maybe those waiting for renders and everything in the early days. Those were like always exciting times, staying up all night. And, that's what I dreamt of when I was in high school, like what it would be like to work on movies. So that was fun for a little while.
And the well, I guess the the good, or if it's something good to note, it's that Nimona, it's happening. It's another studio who's doing it, but unless the project was not completely
Yeah, that's really
locked and
cool. Nice to see that stuff
mm,
continue on. There was so much amazing artwork and so many finished characters. So like for my part, the whole rigging team was finished pretty much. All characters were completed. It just
mhm.
hadn't started really full animation yet.
Do you know if they reused the asset? It was like it's a
I would
continuation or
imagine that they would have to rebuild most of everything.
mm,
I don't know for sure, but
okay.
just based off the proprietary tools from the studio pipeline and all those kind of things,
Ah, yeah, it's
they could
difficult.
probably salvage some parts of the rig, but I'm sure that DNAG has their own rig system as well. So they're probably, I would imagine they may be using the final models and just
Mm.
starting again.
Yeah,
I'm not 100% sure.
I imagine.
Yeah.
I've been in that situation here when I arrived to Japan. Like, indeed, I arrived to work in a movie, and after 6 months or so, 9 months working, the movie was canceled, and half of the team was fired, including myself, and it was not
No
and
fun.
not fun. I was the good thing it's well good thing it's I was lucky enough to be fired and then rehired by the same company the same next day. I think it was
Okay.
because like, but it was awful for me, and I know there were like we because the situation is like half of the team was fired because it was by contract for the movie. The movie was canceled. It was everybody was out of work, and everybody was in a really bad situation, but you've been rehired and you taken it because I was, I mean, my son was not even a year old when we just arrived here, and
Yeah,
all
you're
the
not going to say
savings just to
no.
move. And
Yeah,
even my apartment was rent to the through the company because
right.
so I lost my apartment and my job at the same day.
Oh,
So I took, obviously I took it, but it was tough to other colleagues that were complaining, and they told me you cannot say anything to anybody. Like come on.
oh, that's
So
hard.
that's it's not like a funny. It's like a really, but you need. I mean, I had to do what I had to do in this case because it was a lot of on the sticks, no, like you said. But yeah, I imagine for everybody at Blue Sky must have been tough, no, like to move over and
Yep. There was definitely some grim moments in the last days with like everyone cleaning out their desks, and it also all happened during the pandemic, so you never really got that real goodbye feeling with the
uh,
whole thing. It was like people could only come in shifts, and yeah, it was really,
oh,
the whole
I
thing
see.
was just super
Yeah.
weird. Yeah. But the good thing about it is that, you form so many relationships
Mm-hmm.
when you're at a studio like that,
Mm-hmm.
and for so many years. And everyone leaving, let's say, and
Mm-hmm.
then restarting somewhere else at the same time, all of a sudden you know somebody from like hundreds of different studios. It's like
Yeah,
that's been the
that's
coolest thing,
definitely.
kind of seeing everyone scatter around the whole industry, and then there's like little groups getting together and working at places together where they'll have like 10 or 12 or 20 people from Blue Sky at
Mm-hmm.
Pixar, or
Yeah.
DNEG or
Y-
Skydance or wherever it is.
Yeah, that's definitely that's one of the good things, if there is any.
Yeah, you got
And
to try hard to find the silver lining, but it's
but
there. Yeah.
yeah, the and it's also like yeah, I think forming relations on this industry, it's very important. I guess in every uh, level of life, like not only work, but it's forming relations, but definitely having work with people that then move to another studios, and and because everybody keeps in contact, and it's something that on the long run it's great because you have maybe the, oh, I need a rig, oh, let's call Brian, oh Brian, what are you doing now, oh, I have this contract, or blah, blah. So you start to have this
Yep.
synergy of work and nice projects coming to you, and people that wants to meet you wants to work with you.
Definitely good for the network for sure. And yeah, it's nice to have friendly faces around if you have to look for work again or something like that. Yeah, definitely.
um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's still like a sad situation. But yeah, and yeah, I want like to go like well, and it's where are you now? It's Ziva, or now Unity.
Yep.
That's something I want to talk a little later. I want you to show me some stuff, if it's possible.
Yep.
The I was super interested. I told you like this blog post that you did a few months ago. I don't. It's like when oh no, like December. I think it was not that long ago. I have so bad. I mean, my track of time, it's horrible. So just
It's been a blur for me since December. Yeah, I can't remember anything that's happened since then. Yeah.
but yeah, but definitely I want to. We were talking like these bullet point topics. That one interesting thing that you commented, it's like not being a programmer, or but being a technical artist. That's an interesting topic. I would like to discuss because we had this topic a few times on the podcast, but obviously everybody has his own point of
Yep.
view, and I would like to know yours here. I mean, how you navigate in all this.
Yeah, sure, sure. I think when I started at Blue Sky and they said,
Mhm.
"Hey, you should come work in the rigging department," my first reaction was that I wouldn't be able to do it. Like there, it would just that was not going to work. And so they were like, "No, you should." Yeah, I didn't really say much. They were like, that was back in the time when you flew down for an interview. So I came down for the interview, and I remember during the interview process, t specifically grabbing people like I think it was Yuli who I think she works at Pixar now in the rigging department post Blue Sky, but she had been at the studio, and I was like, yeah, I just want to make it really clear, I'm not a programmer. Are you sure? I kept like trying to tell people, are you sure you want to hire me? Because I don't program, and that's like just ingrained in my mind that is a requirement for working in the rigging department, which in some ways it is, and it maybe is for a good reason. But yeah, I think what I learned over my time there was that if the team isn't well rounded, then the type of work that you put out and changes. So it's better to have a team that's more well rounded, and having people that need a UI to use a tool is important for the team, because you're not the only people that are going to use your tools. And later on, there are going to be non-programmers that are using the rigs. So especially at a place like Blue Sky, when the bar for what is a technical rigger was extremely high. There are people there doing machine learning research and just like programming IK solvers, and that's all they do. Like that's pretty hardcore work. So where's the line for what is a technical job in rigging and what isn't? So yeah. And then for me, I feel like, as someone who only ever wanted to animate, every single thing about computer animation is technical. There's no aspect of computer animation that's not really technical. You can't be a painter and then all of a sudden just be like, yeah, I'll make some computer art in Maya. It's going to be next to impossible. And there's no job in thinking about a big studio. Are there any jobs that are pure art? Like even if you're painting textures, you're not doing an oil painting and then photographing them. Every single job is littered with an enormous amount of technical tasks. So just working in the industry and being an artist is already making a huge, let's say, I don't know what the right word is, but you're already making a compromise. Let's say you're not an artist at all. You're doing a ton of technical work and learning topology and learning about UVs and all the different things you have to do. So that to me, I feel like saying someone's not a technical artist unless they can program is pretty dismissive for the amount of technical things you have to know to make anything interesting or contribute in this field. So yeah, I think my bar for what you have to know to be considered a TD is maybe different than most people. And then maybe that's because I don't program, but for me, I feel like I'm already doing 1,000 things that are pushing me away from doing the most artistic part of it. And learning to program on top of all that is just too far. So it doesn't matter how much I love working with programmers or how cool I think programming is. I just don't have the time to put into it. Like, so you could also become a professional ping pong player, but it's just like, it's not going to fit into my schedule. And learning how to program at the level I would need to be a really good programming rigger, that's not been where I want to take my career. So yeah, that's sort of the way I see it. But I feel like working with programmers is so rewarding. And that's like one of my favorite things at Blue Sky was teaming up with people that could make anything real. Like programming is so cool. And those are the kind of people that I really enjoy working with. And some of the highlights of my time there, I think, were sort of contributing ideas that, in a team environment. So anyways, yeah, long story short, I feel like it definitely helps to be a programmer in this field, but that path leads to becoming a developer eventually. You just get on a road. The better you are at technical work, the more technical work you get. The more technical work you get, the better you get at doing technical work. And everyone goes in the same path. I've seen it so many times. Someone dabbles with it, they like it, or they get rewarded for it. And then you end up just being a technical scripting, tool writing TD.
Yes.
And that's not the path I want to go down. So it's really hard to rise up the chain if you don't take that path. So I feel like it's kind of hard.
It's a very slippery slope, like you will say. Like I know friends that they follow that path. They start doing rigging. They learn how to program. When they realize they're a pipeline TD or even like full-fledged like developers for other software that is not even related.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
no,
that's
there's
a
nothing,
great
absolutely
path.
nothing
It's an
wrong.
awesome career path, but it's just never been that's
Mm,
not the way I want to go through it. I still really enjoy making things. That's all I ever
mm,
really wanted to do, I think, since I was a kid, was like make things on the screen. And programming is one way to do that, but there's lots of other ways to do
yes,
it too. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I struggle myself like to balance also like programming and non-programming, like apply the tools I develop to real projects.
Yep.
I think I mean I'm I'm in a good balance, or I like to think that, but at the same time, yeah, I would like to focus more in programming and maybe but without leaving completely the production or the like the apply of the software to the animation, because I really love animation. I really love video games, and
Yeah.
it's
It
it's
gets harder and
tough.
harder to squeeze it in and find the right
Mm,
balance. For me, I feel like I'm I don't have a great balance. I'm definitely more on the character artist
mm,
side, and I mean, it's embarrassing the amount of times I've had to look up the
no.
syntax to make a loop in for a script. It's just like by the time I need to do it again, I've completely forgotten, and every single time I start from zero. Just like I, 25 years later, I still I just it's
Mm.
not my thing.
But it's totally normal. I mean, myself, I I have a lot of struggles to remember stuff when I mean, normally the way I remember stuff, it's because I did it before, so I remember where it was and I check it there and say, oh, that's how this works, how that works, and obviously you remember the basics, like the concept itself. It's sometimes when it goes down, boil down to syntax or maybe some
Yeah,
logic that you use or something,
or
you're better
like
off like
just the simplest things. And then it's like, oh yeah, you want to add this onto the end of a name. And then you could, spend like 3 hours trying to figure out how to format the names and add these things together. It's just like, it's too much for me. But that, I started using Chat
I
GTP
was about to say
to,
it. I
yeah, it really, I'm telling you, it's for
uh,
dumb stuff, the
no,
type of stuff that I need to look up, it's extremely helpful.
but the good thing, it's like you are used to t- work with programmers to ask things, so you're probably better than me creating prompts, because I use Chat GTP now. I have I did a pay subscription because I found that it's very useful for me to
Yeah.
like things like I never remember, like regular expressions, things like that. That it's like, oh, I just asked Chat GTP, and also last week I decided to give a try also to this GitHub Copilot, that is the other, and I was like, it's different. I mean, they complement each other. I just use it for a few days now, so I'm talking like maybe, but man, it's kind of like have a second pair of hands typing for you, because I was
Yeah.
doing
Like an
some methods and
assistant,
some
right?
stuff, and then I type and beep, 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 it kind of like give me like the boiling plate boring thing that it's not like doing everything for you, but it really helps. At least for my little experience, I'm having like a good time and feeling like I'm more productive, and I'm not. I mean, I I want to learn more. I was commenting before. I want to improve my C sharp. I want to dig more on C++, and I want to learn more like development skills. But at the same time, I'm not like eager to know everything by the book.
Yeah.
So if
It's a lot of
some,
stuff to memorize.
yeah, yeah, and I mean, humans are not that good at memory, I think, unless, yeah, Rosnil, it is.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see where it all goes. I feel like tools like that are obviously going to become pretty standard, and yeah,
Yeah,
it's going to be awesome. People like me could
yeah,
do tiny things, and people like you are going to be able to do really amazing things. So
but
it's going
I,
to be really cool.
but I think people like you that knows how to ask things, and it's probably gonna have the edge in some situations for using these tools better than programmers, because the programmer is gonna maybe overthink or try to guide too much to, I don't know. This is
Maybe. But
what it
if
goes
one thing
in.
goes wrong for me, I can't fix it at all. If
Yeah,
there's like
that's
you could look at it and be like, oh yeah, I just have to like
yeah,
change this around. But
yeah.
for me, it's a dead end. I'm just like whatever it puts out is what's
Um,
going in my script editor.
and the others, like what you were saying, like the like as a developer, to have people that use the tool, they give you feedback, then tell you like, oh, this tool, it's like the way that you like that you the usability of the tool, the real like test feel of the tool, that's equally important or more important than the code behind, I will say.
Yeah, it really is
Maybe
a team
somebody is gonna
sport.
kill me now to say that, but but I think it's very very important.
I agree. I think that's one of the that's something I'm excited to see change in the industry. Is like right now we have a lot of tools made for TDs and that tip and that
Mhm.
standard TD role of programmer, and that's what the software is made for. And I'm excited for things to slowly change because like I'm sure you've had the same experience where there's so many people in a studio that are willing to contribute and do a lot of technical work but can't program, and it's such a hard line barrier to
Mhm.
them being able to input ideas into the system.
Mhm.
Like at Blue Sky, there were some amazing animators that knew enough about rigging to do a lot of stuff. They
Mhm.
weren't programmers, but they can make prototypes. They did incredible work. But
Mhm.
it's those type of people where if the tools were just a little bit more user friendly, I'm not talking about like we want to make it so simple your grandmother can do it. That's not the
Mhm.
point. The point is to make it just simple enough that someone like me or like some of these other people I work with that are willing to do a lot of hard work
Mhm.
can make something really interesting with complicated, sophisticated, well-made tools with really nice UIs that give
Mhm.
you building blocks to create
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, I have an example was last month I was doing a new tool for MGear that it's to create proxy geometries, like like 3ds Max cat or something similar, that you have these proxy cubes or capsules, like
Yep.
Ragdoll Dynamics, they have the
Yep.
capsules. So just to generate this kind of proxy volumes, and I have my notes over there. One second. I just gonna grab it and see.
No problem.
Let's see if I can show it without too much of a shame myself on here. But okay, so I'm just gonna show it to camera. I don't know, look quickly, but I don't know if you can read. I hope I don't have any bad words there, anything. But this is the tool, like massive squiggled here, second version, like trying to how I should
Yep.
put the well. Anyway, this is just garbage things. I here trying to figure out how I need to do the volumes, and it took me I mean not too long, but maybe 80% of the time was spent here and trying to figure out the simplest tool I can. And well, I don't have it here ready, but I maybe I post a screenshot, or I edit this video to have a screenshot of the tool. Now it's like 3 main buttons and 4 secondary buttons, like very small, very very compact. This is the hardest part, and if you have someone like you that do that for you, like this is how it should behave.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
uh
Yeah.
that's 80% of the time development was there for me. Means that you do 80% of the development if you can do that.
I
Even
guess
with the
so. I think
coding.
from the other perspective, it's the same way. It's like from my perspective, like I've done those diagrams and drawn the squares. We redesigned the whole UI for Ziva VFX, and I
Mhm.
got to do that stuff. But being able to take some scribbles on a napkin and turn it into actual buttons in a real tool with all the functionality, that's
Mhm.
the part where I'm like, wow, it's crazy. All I'm doing is making some squares and like thinking about how it might work, but
Yeah.
the actual putting it together from
Yeah.
my side is the part where I'm just like, it seems like magic.
No, it's when you have that clear, it's very simple. I will say to develop, at least for the example of this tool, that probably it's very simple also example, but the because if you don't know exactly what you want to do with the tool or the options or how you want to process to design the tool, the engineer, I don't know how it's called, like
Yeah, what's the workflow?
yeah,
Yeah, what
it's
is
very difficult to
the
just
popular UX? Yeah.
yeah, which functions you want, if you use like the classes you want to organize, how you want to process this data, even to decide which data becomes serialized and which data are not, like how much I'm gonna hold that data, because
Yeah, I can imagine from your perspective, you could do it in any million different ways.
yeah,
So it's like, how do you narrow it down to be like, okay, this is the thing that we're gonna do, and
yeah,
sometimes it helps to have someone be like, this is the thing that I want to do. I wish it was like this, and then you can like
yeah,
funnel all of your stuff and be like, okay, let's try and make that the coolest thing it could be, or whatever.
yeah. And another thing, it's like, for instance, in this tool that first, I mean, I'm gear, so maybe for people listening the podcast, maybe it's a bit strange, but the components, I was thinking to create the volumes from components, so kind of an option from the components.
Right.
But then, because you have so many edge cases and the way that you can combine and configure all the components and the solvers that you use in the components change the way that you need to generate the proxies. So at the end, it was so like super complex, even the way to think a system that works like that. And then I realized, okay, this is not something I need to be on the component side. Should be a little tool that after the fact can add volumes on the joints structure.
Yeah, maybe it's just more simple that way, or easier to use as well, potentially.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was way easier to think about that. And the good side thing, it's you can use it in any other rig that is not M-Gear. So
yeah, that's always a bonus.
but you
But
can
why use
serialize.
another rig system but M-Gear?
Yeah, that's I didn't pay Brian to say that, but yes, why? Just kidding. There are many good rigging systems out there.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm very grateful people use M-Gear.
Yeah, it saved me on the last project. I've come from a studio where people wrote the components. I didn't have to do any of those things. It was like rigging for me was like modeling face shapes, putting them into a system, trying to make sure they all work together and blend nicely. This argument placement, skin weights, but not figuring out how the component system works. That stuff was done by people that were well suited for that job. So yeah, building a character now outside of the studio environment, it would be pretty hard for me to go and start using advanced skeleton and like, sure, I could put something together, but what you've done with M-Gear and tools like that let people that are familiar with rigging but couldn't write the components, it lets me build a character. And yeah, it opens up doors for people that couldn't do that type of work. So yeah, I love those kind of tools that are just available and you can just download it and get the upgrade, and it's pretty amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, one little secret, it's I cannot rig without M-Gear. If you ask me to rig Vanilla Maya, oh man, you're gonna fire me. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm very serious here. It's a because it's some stuff I coded and I really hard time to reproduce by hand again. Like I would probably need to revisit my rigs and figure out how to do it by hand. I'm gonna suffer like a lot.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend myself for a rigging position, especially at a small studio where that's the environment where you've got to be technical because there's no one else to do it for you. And for me, in my career working at a bigger studio, you have leverage from other people. There's a lot of people to help, and the type of work that I do is useful for them, and vice versa. But in a small studio, this is a luxury a little bit.
But it's important. I mean, like for instance, I saw people that is more technical, and then when it comes to execute the rig itself, they like like just placing articulations that it's the 101 of rigging. Sometimes they were super off, like the fingers, like just in the base of the of here, not
the web, yeah,
there, not just after this web, like here cut like there, or like super weird, like the shoulders position it looks like a Terminator, like things like that. I saw that quite a lot, and to find people that understand and they have the artistic sensibility or knowledge to just to make a beautiful and appealing deformation and articulation of the character.
Yeah, it's almost
That's
like another job a little bit. And I feel like
yeah.
it's kind of becoming that way. The title of character artist
Mhm.
isn't something that existed a long time ago. It's like relatively new, and there's a lot of things that fit under
Yes.
that umbrella. And I feel like for me, that's a good title that kind of fits where it
Yeah.
makes it pretty clear that I'm not going to do programming, but you are
Mhm.
working at a pretty high level with characters all the time, doing a
Yeah.
lot of in-depth work that
Yeah.
contributes to the final frame.
Yeah. And talking about this work, let's jump on
Yeah.
Ziva, and because I was commenting this post. I will add the link to the blog post on Unity that you use
Hmm.
it for. I'm just gonna stylized simulation of machine learning ready workflows. That's the title for
It just rolls
Ziva
off
for
the
future,
tongue. Yeah.
and it's beautiful. I mean, this cat feels like it's a girl, it's a lady cat, or it's a boy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's very nice, the deformation that you had, like
Yeah.
this
Thanks.
GIF
That's
the
that.
animation thing, cycle, the walk. It's beautiful. Do you? I mean, let's talk about this. Okay, so
Sure. Yeah, let's
so
do it.
so you're working on at Ziva. No, Unity. It's still Ziva Dynamics, I guess, but under the umbrella.
Everything's merged together. So yeah, there is a like a Ziva subgroup, but it's all
Mm-hmm.
Unity, and everyone reports up through the Unity structure. We've been fully absorbed.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and I actually work now on the as part on part of the revenue team at
Mm-hmm.
Unity, which is interesting. So like solutions engineer is my title, and I work with customers and clients and show them the software, and it's a little bit of a different job, but one of the perks is that I get to make my own work for showing how these new tools are and what they're going to do. So that's sort of what that project is, that whole cat project. Like Nova is the name of the cat, and this whole project Nova is just like something that I continue to work on the side to help show those tools to new people and help try and get these workflow ideas out there into the industry a little bit. So that's the idea of what I'm doing now, and it's really interesting working at a software company versus in production. Is also really interesting. There's like lots of pros and cons on both sides. So just kind of like enjoying doing something different
Mm-hmm.
after so many years of really going very, very
Mm-hmm.
narrow and deep on this one
Yeah.
path. It's neat to take that experience and apply it in a different way.
For the description that you give it, like it must be a lot of like more social position than being a rigger. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm
Definitely
never,
more than being a rigger, that's for
but
sure.
but probably you get to travel more. You get to go maybe to
Yep.
like see GDC and other
Yeah.
events, and
Yep.
probably you meet a lot of people like and showing
Yeah, that
software
part is
and
really
helping
cool.
to
And a
integrate.
lot of people from studios, like super talented artists and people that are looking to do something different or try some new technology and whatever. There's a lot of really cool conversations all the time. The other part of it is like business development, the strategy, working with the product teams on the software, getting feedback, providing that stuff. So there's a lot of that kind of document oriented kind of work, especially in the team that I'm at. So it's kind of like it's a weird balance. You trade off like the stresses of production
Mm-hmm.
or a little bit more spreadsheets and things. So it's sort of like there's like good and bad about it.
Oh,
But I
that's good.
really like working on my own projects, and that's like it's something that Unity sees value in, which is really lucky for me. So I'm continuing to
Mm-hmm.
kind of do that stuff. But yeah, I don't want to get too far off topic. That the project is like it's like sort of a continuation of some of the work that I was doing at Blue Sky. So we were starting to experiment with machine learning at sort of the end of the studio's life.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a guy there, Steven Song, and some other people who were working on lots of cool stuff. And that at that point, we started to do the evaluation of Ziva VFX.
Mm.
And like I had a bit of a light bulb moment where, when I first started setting up all of this Ziva VFX stuff, I was thinking we'll extract the corrective shapes and apply them into the rig.
Mm-hmm.
And the same time all this machine learning stuff was happening. And I think the part where it clicks is like, if you're going to machine learn your deformations anyways, and they're going to be fast at the end, then the way you create those deformations doesn't really have to consider performance. You know what I mean? Normally
Yes.
when you're working on a rig, you spend so much time thinking about what's the cost of this deformer and how is it going to be when the animator gets it? What if they have 10 characters? Is it going to be too slow? And all those type of things. But the ability to machine learn deformations means that you can make those deformations any way you want, and it can be as slow as you want or as fast as you want. It doesn't really matter anymore. It just matters what it looks like at the end, so that you can learn all of that stuff. And that's just immediately kind of dawned on me that it's a really good match with something like Ziva VFX,
Mm.
because you can simulate the character and get an infinite amount of corrective shapes and lots of really neat deformation effects and collisions and things that you normally
Yes.
maybe wouldn't be able to do with shapes, because there's no way to drive those shapes in a nice way. So that's like, that kind of spurred the initiative at Blue Sky to dig deeper
Mm.
and create some of these workflows. And I spent a lot of time doing that there. And so when the studio closed, James from Ziva was like, hey, why don't you come and do that stuff, but do it for us instead? And that's where this project started, and all of these things. We're trying to like take the next step and go a little bit further.
Yeah. It's yeah, definitely it's something I want to try. It's and
I can share the rendered image maybe, because that's a fun one.
yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah, so
It
the bodies here are all Ziva. The face is not, and the face isn't rigged yet. That's just like an expression pass to see what
Mhm.
the style of the face will be before rigging. I'll probably make a couple more of those, but yeah, but the bodies are all Ziva. And then I made this really weird looking breakdown, kind of showing a little bit about how it's made. So that's the bone geometry, and the tissue's kind of chopped in half. And you can kind of
Interesting.
see
So the
how it
bone
works a
geometry
little
doesn't
bit.
need to be rigid. So it can be
No,
something that is flexible. Okay, that's it.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's something I was getting wrong all the time.
Yeah, the spine needs to be deforming. It all can be deforming.
Yeah,
It doesn't
but
matter at all.
yeah, I understand. I mean, yes, the spine needs to be deforming, but what I was thinking is you need to have like a bunch of rigid pieces to be
Yeah,
deforming.
like separate vertebrae or
Yes,
something
yeah,
like that.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it works with geometry like this. It also means that you can blend shape your bones too if you want to make corrections that way.
Wow,
Lots of different stuff. Yeah.
that's amazing.
But the point of this technique is to sort of get away from blend shape. So there's some aspects of Ziva VFX that I don't want to use. There's some neat parts where you can make blend shapes on the tissues for like goals that
Mhm.
you want to hit and all this kind of stuff. But I feel like the point of this workflow is to not have to sculpt tons of blend shapes. So I don't want to build that into the workflow really. We want to use no blend shapes for this.
Mhm.
And yeah, there's like, if we look at the stomach here, if I was back at Blue Sky, I'm sure the first note we would get is that, it's too flat right here. You can see it here too. We're getting these like diamond shapes a little bit. And that's
Mhm.
probably something that I don't want to do. But getting that from the simulation, it might not be worth the investment to try and tweak the simulation to that level. And
Mhm.
what I think is sort of where this goes for me and where I want to take the project is like, you set up your initial deformations this way because it's relatively straightforward, and that they're going to give you a much better result than the skin cluster. Obviously, you're going to get this really nice volume preservation calculated from physics, and it's
Yes.
great. Machine learn all of that stuff, and then at that point, you've got a fast moving version of your rig that deforms really nicely, or at least it doesn't deform wrong. And giving that to a rigger or a character artist is such a great starting point compared to starting from the skin cluster to sculpt all of the shapes. It's so much
Yes.
work correcting for the skin cluster. And that's not, I don't feel like that's really art per se. That's not where you get to impart something new. You're just fixing what's broken. So if we use an approach like this where you use simulation to get the rigs looking nice and
Mhm.
normal, then on top of that, you can have a very sparse set of art direction correctives that can account for something like rounding out this here. Or if we want to change the silhouette here to be more smooth on some of these shapes, you could just go through and add a very small layer of art direction correctives by hand on top of a system like this. And I feel like that's the sort of best of both worlds for how you could get of course, a really performant rig because it's been machine learned, but also save the character artist from having to dig out the armpits and the thighs and all
Mhm.
these areas where you have to sculpt these tons and tons of correctives and then create this driving system that has combinations and combinations on top of combinations and like this huge web of correctives. That's sort of the idea anyway.
But it's definitely it's great. I mean, just I mean, creating plane shapes, corrective plane shapes, it takes long time to do. I imagine creating this kind of rig, it's also not something that you can do very quickly, but probably the amount of correct plane shapes and the quality that you get, it's not comparable. Like that's the
Yeah,
biggest
you can
difference
account
is
for so many things. Yeah.
yes, and contacts and things like that. That it's always hard, even like elbows, like all these areas that you get to correct, and then make the transition that doesn't wobbles from that's
Yeah, totally. It's such a pain. It's really hard, and it's a totally manual process for doing all that stuff. So any way to automate it, I think, is good. And a lot of these setups like this are pretty. I don't want to say, you can deformation transfer all kinds of things, but
Mhm.
in this case, being able to having one setup and then using it for other characters, it's not too bad. So I've got a good place to start with this stuff now. If I was ever making another sort of humanoid character, it would just be versions of the same sort of a thing. The figuring out stuff like how to design the knees to get a nice bend and all this kind of stuff. I'm sure there's plenty of ways to do this. I'd love to see somebody do it better. This is just like the first way that I tried and where I ended up with it. But I feel like there's a lot of experimentation you could do with this type of a setup to get some really cool results. And maybe it's not exactly like what I did, but I'm sure someone will see this at some point and make a
Mhm.
better version of this. That's what I'm excited to see kind of. So far,
Mhm.
I'm just working a little bit in a black box on all of this stuff. But
That's
yeah.
very very cool. And I the other thing it's this machine learning technology can run between in Maya, but also on Unity. No, like I saw the other demos from Ziva, like the
Yep.
facial. It's basically the same thing. The facial machine learning on this one.
It's a little bit different. Ziva's a facial work. I don't want to give the whole product demo, but there's like Ziva does faces in a couple of different ways, but a
Mm-hmm.
lot of that stuff it uses the machine learning and uses the same stuff, but there's a lot of extra steps on it too.
Mm-hmm.
There's some stuff going on with Ziva's face pipeline that's pretty special and unique. They
Mm-hmm.
can do markerless capture and video solvers and all this really amazing stuff, and that's all like it all depends where you get your training data from. And in the terms of faces, the training data all comes from 40 captures of real
Mm-hmm. Yes.
human faces. Whereas here, with an off-the-shelf version of the software, the RT trainer and all of that, you create your own data. So in this case,
Mm-hmm.
I would be creating the data from this Ziva VFX simulation. But you
Yeah.
could make that data anywhere. You could make it in, if you're training cloth or you're training something else, it doesn't have to be Ziva VFX. It just has to be an Alembic cache of something.
Because now I'm just checking the so we have Ziva VFX on the website of Ziva, and we have
Yeah.
the Ziva face trainer, and then it's the Ziva RT. So this technology for the machine learning to be used in stylized characters, it's it's there. It's one of these. Sorry, I'm asking
Yeah,
maybe silly
it's
things
Ziva
because
RT. No, that's okay.
it's Ziva RT. That is the one that is in beta.
It's in beta, and we're working with lots of different studios that have finished projects with it already, and it's being
Yeah, like the
continued to
Spider-Verse.
develop. Yeah.
Yeah,
And yeah, it
that's
works in Unity and Maya. It also works in Unreal Engine as well. So sort of Unity's stance on that is just to kind of make cool tools, and if it means you don't work in Unity, you want to work somewhere else with them, that's fine too. So yeah, that's the
that's
stance from
great.
the company, which is pretty cool. So yeah, they're not trying to shut anybody out. They're trying to open it all up, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's really great. Yeah, I saw some demos of I'd say Spider-Verse. Sorry, it's not Spider-Verse. It's just Miles Morales Spider-Man.
Yeah, the Spider-Man game. Yeah, that was a super cool project.
Yeah, I saw
That's
some of
it's
the
that's
demos.
what's funny about Ziva RT is that it's so fast. Uh, if you train a rig that has blend shapes and everything and the skin cluster, sometimes it's faster than the Maya rig with just the skin cluster. You know what I mean? The skin cluster only Maya rig is slower than the Ziva
Oh,
RT trained rig with all the corrective shapes baked in. It's unbelievable.
oh yes, I remember. Um, I, there was this demo with a cheetah, and
Yes.
that was the I don't think it was on the podcast. Was later after before I start my own business. I was talking with James that I wanted to create some special components for Ziva on M Gear.
Hmm.
I didn't have the chance to find the time. That's sad. Sorry, James, if you're listening here, I'm sorry. I didn't forget. It's just like I it's hard to find the time, but I wanted to create more components that were more meant to be kind of how you say it, like not for cartoon but more for like realistic creatures where you have the two joints that roll one in top of the other
Like
to
more
have the
anatomically correct
yeah
type
to
of
have the
rigs.
yeah kind of the correct thing, but I didn't have the
Hmm.
chance to do that. But it was one of
That
my
would be
my
cool.
goals because um yeah, definitely something I think MGear can help there, and will be also good for MGear because many people using Ziva will look at MGear.
Definitely.
It's like the follow the leader kind of mentality. So in this case, Ziva, but yeah, it's yeah, definitely something I would like to test and experiment because right now, yeah, the like rigs as a evaluation transformation kind of thing, they're really fast nowadays. Like you have um like 100 the other day, just regular like the biped rig and M gear with the proxy volumes that I was talking this tool I was
Yep.
testing. And my laptop, I work with a laptop. It's a good laptop. I'm pretty proud of my laptop, but it's a laptop, thin laptop, and the was 160 FPS
Wow, not bad.
in a random cycle with them. Like I have mock-up with kind of karate kind of movements, and I was trying that. It was super fast, like and
Was your
obviously,
laptop burning up or was it fine?
oh no, not that bad. Indeed, I never had my laptop on the you have this. Let me check. You have the power mode, so I have it always in balance. I have this. I don't know if you know. It's a ThinkPad, the X1 Extreme. It's a very thin,
Okay.
less than 2 kilos. It's very nice. One I'm very happy with him. But of course, it's it gets warm, and I never put like because it's too noisy. So I always have it at this half gas thing, and it was quite a thing. I
That's
knew it
pretty
was
cool.
fast, but
Yeah. I guess it really depends. I think from from studio to studio, rig performance can vary so much.
oh yeah,
And it's like it's pretty insane. So the ability to kind of not really care what the deformers are and bake everything into machine
Yeah.
learning space can really
Mm.
get around the cost of
Yeah.
some of those kind of fancy deformers that some
Yeah.
studios are working with that
Yeah.
are really slow. Yeah.
Yeah. This is, for instance, one of the client works that I'm doing right now. It's last year we did some rigs, and this year I'm continuing the work to optimize the rigs to get and obviously with um, the things that we have available on Maya. So,
Yep.
but it's a, I mean, it's a whole like task and very fun, by the way. Very very interesting. It's like solving puzzles, but it's yeah, it's a very important thing, and definitely yeah, I want to find time to try the CRT and see the same rig, maybe how fast can get with the new technology, because yeah, definitely it's a
Yeah,
must needed thing. And
it's really interesting to use it as just an optimization step in the pipeline,
mhm.
or to involve it earlier and have it be part of the way you create your deformations, you know?
Yes.
It's like, yeah, there's a lot of different ways to kind of leverage machine learning. You could even do it multiple times during the process, which is kind of
Yeah.
interesting too.
Yeah, for me, right now the biggest bottleneck, it's a facial rig right now. Like facial, it's very tricky, a lot of layers, and especially cartoon like facial.
Yeah, I haven't rigged the face of my character yet. Tell me that you're going to release a facial rigging pack or something new that'll.
Oh no, I never finished this workshop I was doing, but it's similar to that. I mean, it's not but yeah, definitely I need to retake that and to see, especially with the newest Maya versions, there were some nice updates, and some of the deformers now can go through GPU that before were
Yes.
kind of like bottlenecking the evaluation there. So there's a lot of things that I need to catch up there, but definitely. Did you think like it's like if you do the deformation, how in terms of facial, definitely you have the Ziva face trainer, but as we say, it's more like for realistic when you have the data coming
Yeah,
from.
I think in the case like this, it will work better to do the face rig by hand. It's too stylized and too specific to that
Mm,
character. I think there's no way to avoid kind of doing that one by hand. And I feel like the who knows what the future will bring. There's a lot
mm,
of really neat stuff happening on the Ziva dev team with faces and different ways to deform things and all kinds of
mm,
really cool stuff. But for where it's at right now, I feel like in terms of what's released today and what you could do, I'd rather do simulation and all those things for the body, which is a
mm,
bit more of a known commodity. And the faces, they're always so specific
mm.
that
Yes.
trying to fight a simulation to get the look that you want, it's just I don't think it's the right approach for that. I'd like to see it change, but for right now, for a face like this, I would do it by hand. I think
Mm, yeah.
that's really the only option. The stuff that Ziva's doing with faces and the face trainer is really cool for realistic faces. It's awesome, and
Mm,
especially faces at scale. So if you have a
right.
1,000 characters, you have to make faces for. Paying people to rig those things
Mm,
will cost a fortune. So it's
yeah.
like it's opening up the
Yes.
ability for different
Yeah.
types of work and projects to be done in a
Mm,
different way. But for something like this, yeah, I'm still looking forward to a day when there's some kind of really awesome tool that lets me rig the face with expressions like the ones I'm trying to hit for my character. You know what I'm talking about. So yeah.
yeah. I but for instance, I was thinking now on past projects I worked like Oni. I think you watch it,
Yep.
like the designs there from Tonko House. They're very, I don't know, squeezable. Like I
Yeah. Squishy and
it's,
like super appealing. Yeah.
yeah, but it was super hard to make the deformation of these volumes because they had very like chubby arms and short limbs, but at the same, like especially like Naridon, that's the main character, the well, the main character is Onari, that's the girl, the daughter, but the Naridon is the dad. And then we have Kappa, that is her best friend. That it's also very very. And I remember like because the thick
Yeah,
of the wrist was
it's
the
almost
length
more
of
than
the
the
forearm
length.
or even
Yeah,
more.
totally.
So
Yeah.
if you just doing that, you reach your elbow.
Yep.
And then that I think to having this like Ziva solver to work the volume there and to push all the mass and don't like especially because I mean it's okay if you do that and you can do a corrective and you want to have the full range with the twist
Yeah, getting the
and
coverage.
articulation the elbow that
Yeah,
combines with the so it's not the same the twist with the elbow that the twist with the stand arm. So this it was like yeah a patience and a lot of fine tuning so it doesn't wobble when you move because you know.
totally.
But definitely
Yeah,
I should thought on that like a couple of well it was almost 2 years or more almost 3 years ago but maybe
next time. Next
it was
time.
not there yet. I mean it's still in beta so but yeah
Yes, that's
maybe
right.
only two. Let's see if we have the second.
There you go.
I would love to repeat that.
That would be awesome. It was a really cool project. Congrats on the whole thing. That was
Thank
just
you.
awesome. Yeah, super cool.
It was a nice project to work in, like for the project itself and also for the team people. Like that was amazing. Like very very good experience.
Yeah, it's not as rare as I wish it was a little less rare, but yeah, when you get that perfect circumstance of like a really cool project, really cool direction, and a really good team, that's that's like a really awesome feeling. Everyone's just kind of working together, making cool stuff.
Yeah, and then also I commented I think on this making of I did on for the YouTube, but I knew I mean 2 years or more working on this project I knew everything and then when I watch it I binge watch it with my kids and I was like semi emotional like this cop on Chance with Meatballs where are you going come back.
Yeah, that's right.
No but really I knew what's gonna happen and it's like got me and that was something I didn't expect at all because I was just looking my mistakes and things and I thought I will not be how you say
Drawn into the story so much, right? You get
yes
at some point
exactly
you get distracted and pulled into the project, and that's really cool when you can
yeah
not just analyze the technical problems, but
and
really enjoy it for what it
yeah
is. Yeah, totally.
that happened to you you
Yeah, totally. Like there's moments from a bunch of the Blue Sky movies where it's like there's some tender moment or something's happening and you kind of forget it about a little bit. The Peanuts movie had some really nice parts in it, and that I think that's one of my favorite projects that we worked on there. It was like the look was so interesting, and I thought the render.
yeah.
First, I know it's like not everyone loves that style of render, but I really liked it, and the animation on twos and all the
It
insane
was
stuff that
great
happened on the rigs. It was a really cool project. Yeah, that was
and
fun.
I think in terms of pioneering to break these pre-established looks that we are used to or we used to be used to like Disney and Pixar I'm
Yeah,
talking
I agree. Yeah, it's one of the first times for lines on faces and all that stuff. It's become very popular, all that stuff now. But yeah, the
yeah
Peanuts film was one of the
yeah
first big ones, I think,
yeah
that was experimenting with all
yeah
this weird alternate looks.
I saw this morning at the time of recording was released the new Teenage Ninja how it's called Mutant
Ninja
Ninja
Turtles.
Turtles. Yeah, and in
Yeah.
Spanish it's slightly different the title, so it's
What is it in Spanish? I always love how the titles
um,
change.
las Tortugas Ninja, just Ninja Turtles. That's it.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
So,
When Sabine and I are talking, there's like German versions of all the movies, and like some of the things they translate don't make any sense at all. It's pretty funny.
I think they shorted the title. Well, I think yeah, and you just normally just say Ninja Turtles, and yeah, I
But
get it.
you're talking about the Technicolor one, right? The Micros Ninja
Yeah,
Turtles?
yeah, it was released this morning, I think.
Yeah,
At least
yeah.
it was all over my feeds this morning. It was very, very cool,
It's
very distinctive.
amazing looking. Yeah,
Yeah,
agreed. They're doing some really cool work there for sure.
yeah. And well, I have to. I'm sorry. This is. I have to say something here.
Uh-oh.
It's on these things. In Japanese, like anime and cel shading. I think, because I part of this industry here, we have been doing this for long, very long, but obviously not at the level and budget and and extended, but like animating fake curves and a lot of trickery going on there. So I have to put my let's say, like, my shield, let's say, and defend a little bit the Japanese animation industry here, because these kind of things that looks very new for maybe the big audience, it's been here
Yeah.
similar, but in a different capability. Like I saw all the tech that went on Spider Bears or Peanuts, and it's not the same here. It's more well,
I know what you
technology
mean though.
wise. Yeah,
Those ideas have been around for ages, but like getting them up and into a mainstream movie at the
yeah,
scale of these like
yeah,
$100 million productions and stuff,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
pretty it's rare, and it's nice that that's becoming more acceptable for you to
Yeah,
just be like, yeah, I want to do this crazy weird look
yeah,
that looks like something out of 2D
yeah,
animation, but it's going to be 3D, and yeah, it's super cool. I love that
yeah.
kind of stuff. That's
The
my favorite kind of
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
I want to see the last two movies from DreamWorks. I didn't had a chance to watch it yet. The Bad Guys and the Pussy
Oh,
Boots.
Bad Guys was really cool. And Mitchell versus the Machines. I can't
Oh
remember
yeah,
who
that
did that one,
one.
but
That
that
one.
was
Yeah,
really cool
I
too.
watched that one. That one
Yeah.
was from Sony Meshworks, like the
Yes.
studio
Yeah.
here. Yeah, but yeah, definitely it's great. I think in uh, was in Montreal was done this Captain Underpants also. It had a
Yep.
fair amount of.
Yeah. Or the SpongeBob
Oh yeah,
movie.
yeah.
That
Now
that
the
one was actually really amazing. The rigging work on that was pretty awesome.
yeah, and was one. It wasn't from Netflix. I can't remember the title. These kids that are remember the three. Oh my, I'm terrible in names. I really like that one, and I forgot the name. Shame on me. Mm,
Remember, there's a lot of animation these days, which
yeah,
is
but
another
there
really
is
good
also like,
thing.
yeah, having this. I think even now, I think Pixar is doing some stuff that it's also deviating quite a lot from his past on terms of style.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know.
Yeah, it's cool. It's nice to see a little more diversity in terms of the looks
Yeah,
that are
totally
out there.
in.
And trying to hit those looks through the rigs and with the
Yeah,
technology that we have today, it's such a challenge. I think that that's one of the exciting things about working
yeah,
on those type of movies is that you just have to figure out how on earth am I going to make this stuff, and then the rigging team or whoever is
mm,
makes these tools. You give them to the animators, and they start doing all kinds of crazy, weird stuff with it. I remember from the Peanuts film, and Sabina could tell you better than me, but um, they take the brow rig
yes.
and they make it into a mouth, and they just start doing all kinds of like crazy,
Oh
weird
yeah,
stuff with the rig controls and pushing it so far, and it's yeah,
yeah,
it's awesome to see things go further than you thought. I think that's the big studio kind of thing that I miss sometimes. Is like people building on top of other people's ideas and just like constantly pushing the envelope further and further, and then going back and remaking those things better and going through the process again. It's just like the amount of iterations and the seriousness that everyone takes it throughout the whole process is it's really cool to be a part of that kind of stuff. It's so fun.
yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah. One thing, it's like I remember like doing all this Christ. It was one project we work also for Netflix that was Altered Carbon. It's not like super cartoony in terms of like it was a lot
Yep.
of mock-up with
Yeah.
not the live action. We did like a 1 hour kind of a special
Yeah.
project,
I saw it on there. Yep.
and the well, almost all the lines are rigged and everything on the facial, and the
Huh.
sweat and everything.
Really?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. And I remember like we need the sweat, but the sweat has different. It's animated by hand, and it slides on top of the face. But the face has a lot of layers to deform everything, and I remember like doing that, and I was like, it was slow like as hell. Like really, like I mean, you need all to process all this deformation data, and on top something that slides on top of the face and the projects there. And it was, I was talking with the animation director, was and I said like, can you make it faster? And I say, sorry, just
yeah. No. At some point, there's nothing left to do.
yeah, I can keep
Yeah.
trying, but it's like I mean, you need to
Some of the
finish
rigs
the
from
animation
Blue
in
Sky were like
3 weeks.
that too.
And yeah,
There's just nothing you can do. It's like the
yes,
birds from Rio. I think some of them were like 5 frames a second, it was just like, or 5 seconds a frame. It was just like it was
5 seconds of oh
horrible.
wow, that
It was you. Yeah, if you turned everything on, you could barely even and see what was going on. It's just like it's
wow.
crazy. Yeah, totally
I think
bizarre.
we
So
didn't have that, but it
it was
it
very
was pretty
slow.
bad. I mean, I don't think it. We had a few frames per second, let's say. Not we didn't pass that barrier, but it
That's
was
where you
pretty
really
bad.
need like you've got to have amazing animators to
Yeah.
work with rigs like that under those kind of
Oh yeah.
conditions with that crunch time. I could never do it. Like even back at the day when I was the best I've ever been at animation, I could never
Yeah.
have animated the way they do at like professional animators at Blue Sky or the type of
Yeah.
people you're working with too. It's just like it's at a whole nother level. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
This project was done in 1 year, from the let go, let's start model to deliver.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's crazy. That's a
And
tight
and
timeline.
while doing all the like animatics and the direction
It
was in
wasn't
house. I was in
already
Animas.
storyboarded and
I,
everything.
I shout out for Studio Anima here in Tokyo. Yeah, sorry, what you say?
It wasn't already storyboarded. That was also
No,
in the one
the
year. Oh
direction
wow.
was in house, and everything was in house. And yeah, it was a really fun project to work, and it was a lot of mocap and then animated on top. Like so, we have Studio Anima. We have the like a mocap facility there,
Hmm.
and then we process the data and we do like the like animation on top. And obviously there are some sequences or shots that are full keyframe animated, because basically you cannot do that on mocap, or at least not on our facility. Maybe it's an avatar with super long ceilings and things like that, and stand doubles. Maybe you can, but not. And yeah, for instance, one of the tools that M-Gear got from that project was there is one called a cache manager, the GPU cache manager. That basically it's a manager that was before the before the Maya playback cache.
Hmm.
So we did a tool that can load and unload GPU cache or Alembic cache on the GPU. So you working for some characters and
Yeah.
say, okay, this I'm not gonna touch it for the moment, so I cache it and I load it on the GPU, and I unload the rigs, and then I can work
Huh.
in the, and so
That's
we
kind of cool. She's
just,
swapping them in and out, kind of. Yeah.
yes, exactly, that's a tool
Yeah.
that's there. And it's still nowadays with the animation with playback cache, it's useful because the playback cache have so much RAM that you can take over. So it's a good like we're on this project, we're like a party kind of sequence that is kind of a disco
Yeah.
kind of
Big
thing,
crowd or something.
a
Yep.
big crowd, but not like crowd simulated. It's really like some of the they are like animated and then block it there, and yeah, it was used for that. Yeah, sorry, like
Cool.
a lot of
No, no,
tangents
no.
here, but
That's
it's
awesome.
yeah, it's nice to geek out for a little.
Yeah, definitely. I always talking about past projects is always super fun. Yeah, it's
Uh,
like it's a never-ending barrage of new work and old work, and it all
mm.
gets blended together. Yeah, is there? What are you excited about right now for what's next for you?
Well, right now, on terms of like projects, I'm working in like a few projects, like mix between animation project and game projects. Very excited about that part. That's kind of new for me. Not like I did games in the past, uh, but later I've been like many years that I did only like animation, and now I'm just touching base again. Let's
Something
say.
really cool in with games and like building characters that have animation libraries and like
Mm,
helping work those systems together that blend all the animations and actions together. I've got to do a
yeah.
tiny bit of that kind of stuff, not anything professionally, but just in my own
Uh,
time. And man, I really like doing that. It's a
uh,
lot of fun to kind of get the feeling for the character to be
uh,
believable and all everything
yeah.
blending together and
It's,
those kind of motion systems. It feels like you're building like a more
mm,
like a little robot than anything else. It's got to be able to
yeah.
handle things in real time and blend through all the different bits. And yeah, I really like that aspect of making characters for
Mm.
games. I think it's very
It,
cool.
it's just different, but it's nowadays there is a lot of convergency, and probably you know better than anybody what what you're doing every day, because there you know the technology, like the machine learning technology, you can now use it for in game, or you can use it for offline render, and many of these things are coming together very nicely. And I think in some point it's gonna be very blurred the lines between one technology and another. Like a lot of people, it's adopting real-time rendering as a
Yep.
offline option for linear production. And
It's really just a matter of time before it all blends together,
yeah,
I think. I don't know what the perfect piece of software is, but I feel like we haven't used it yet. It's like still
yeah,
coming. Most of the software that's out right now was
yeah.
made a long time ago.
It's not
And
gonna
they're
happen unless not for you and me. You know,
I'm, I'm a believer. I think it will.
here is the thing, and the catch. You already work with so many softwares, and you have so much experience that nothing is gonna be perfect for you. It's the same for me, I think. Maybe it's overstating here, but for me, my perfect software was for soft image in some point, because I didn't knew anything else. I was so happy on my little world that that was perfect, because this is all I knew. Now I work with other softwares. I use obviously Maya. I try to learn a little bit of Blender. I use Unity. I use Unreal and other like ZBrush and blah blah all this. And when I have my license of Softimage, I went back to do something in Softimage. Oh no, I remember this. Super annoying. Oh no. And part is I don't remember stuff, but also like there's things in Softimage that I really dislike now, and things on Maya
It's
that
all
I
like nostalgia when you think back about the good
yeah.
old days. It's like, oh, it
And
was amazing. And then you use it again, and you're like, oh,
exactly. And but for me it was perfect. That was the and I it's like I lost this kind of naive feeling of perfect thing, and now it's gonna be hard. I mean, I mean, I don't know. Maybe there is
I'm an
someday, but
optimist. I think that
yeah,
it's going to happen. I feel like there's so many things changing right now, and the way people want to work is also changing. And you're seeing some tools and some bits of software come out that are looking towards a different way of doing things. And
yeah,
it's, I feel like we're maybe not there yet, but there's going to be a tipping point at some point, and software is not going to be made for developers anymore. It's going to be made for artists, and those artist tools are going to
mm,
be super complicated still, super complicated. And for me, that's the
yeah,
utopia land.
yeah,
And who knows if we'll get there or not, but I feel like the best days are ahead still.
yeah. That's well, definitely the best days are ahead. That I'm sure. I'm just saying like the perception of something perfect, it's gonna be difficult for us. If you
Okay,
just
yeah, sure.
start
I
and start
agree.
like
Yeah.
many people start nowadays with Blender, and Blender is perfect, and and this you know this the Blender kind of sorry guys if you use Blender, but yeah, the this kind of excitement for the people like very like I want to be
It's hard
respectful,
not
but
to get attached to software. I
yeah,
remember
exactly.
when I started too, it was the same thing. It was like Alias was the best, and there's nothing else
Oh
that's
yeah.
better. And I hate all other software. So like after a few years, you drop that, and
Mm.
yeah, you just
I,
kind of move
s-
on.
I
Everything's a
saw
tool, and yeah,
I saw on internet many years ago some people had tattoo the logotype of a light wave back in the day. I don't know if he's listening, this person, but it was like kind of like, wow, that's that's really
that's a
commitment in there.
commitment. Yeah, that's right. You got to really love it.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
not about to get a Maya tattoo. I don't think, not yet anyway.
No, no, no. I'm not getting any tattoo anytime soon. Not because I don't
One
like
day,
it, but this is just tangent alert. Here in Japan, they have the ofuro, that is the public bath kind of spa kind of thing.
right?
Historically, you uh, you cannot get in if you have tattoos. They say it's for hygiene, but it's because the mafia here in Japan, they wear
Yeah,
tattoos, so it was kind of like an polite way to say we don't want
yeah.
tattoos because hygiene. Because so if I do tattoos, I cannot go to these places, or some allow tattoo, but the vast majority doesn't. And I really like that so much, I cannot give up that part. So
So no tattoos ever for Miguel. Yeah.
no, no tattoos ever for me.
Yeah, I miss Japan. So Sabine and I went there for our honeymoon just for 3 weeks, and oh man, it was so fun. We really had
So you've
a
been on
fantastic
onsen?
time.
You try it?
Yep, yep. Not when one with like lots of different people, but lots of different onsens at different places. But yeah, always like a
Okay.
semi-private ones.
Semi-private. Yeah, no, you need to
Yeah,
go with the.
yeah. I haven't done that. I haven't gone with the group,
That's
the group
okay.
bath. Yeah, next
It's
time.
yeah, but it's very nice. That's yeah. For the people who doesn't know, it's a public bath, but you go completely naked, maybe with a little towel if you want to cover a little bit while you're walking, but really doesn't cover that much. So it's kind of like you need to be not not to be shy, I guess.
Too shy. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so it's okay. Yeah. But yeah, well, I think yeah we hit hour and a half mark, and I guess it's getting late for you. Uh,
A little bit. Yeah, I gotta check on the baby at
oh,
some
sorry
point.
for that.
No, that's okay.
But thank you so much for coming to the podcast and share your experience and your work with us. It's been fantastic, and definitely I have to try Ziva, the former, and the machine learning approach next
Yeah,
time. It's
absolutely. And thanks for having me too. You know, you're a legend in the business. So
oh no,
yeah,
don't say that, please.
it was easy to say yes to come and talk for a little while. Yeah, super fun. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.